When people walk away from a woman, she often blames herself, wondering if she wasn't good enough, loving enough, loyal enough, or deserving enough. But Allah allows certain people to leave so she can finally see who truly remains. People leave because they get tired, distracted, or disconnected, but Allah stays because His love is not based on convenience. He stays through every silent tear, every late night fear, and every heavy moment she carries alone. His presence does not depend on her perfection, only on her sincerity. Sometimes Allah removes people from her life not to punish her, but to protect her. He knows the conversations she never heard, the intentions she never saw, and the betrayal she never recognized. The loneliness she feels is not abandonment, it is protection. It is Allah saying, "They were not written in your destiny, but I am." When the world grows quiet, His support becomes loud in the heart of a woman who puts her trust in Him. A woman may spend years trying to hold on to people who were never meant to stay. She gives love, loyalty, and effort, hoping they will see her worth. But Allah sees her worth long before anyone else does. He knows her sacrifices, her patience, her sincerity, the things the world takes for granted. When others walk away, Allah stays to remind her that He values what they overlooked. His closeness fills the emptiness left behind. The pain of being left alone often breaks her heart, but sometimes a broken heart is what makes space for Allah's light. When everyone distances themselves, Allah draws nearer. When no one listens, He hears. When no one asks how she feels, He knows. A woman's deepest heartbreak often becomes her doorway to the greatest closeness with her Creator. What people break, Allah rebuilds with more beauty and strength. There are moments when a woman feels invisible, when her efforts go unnoticed and her kindness is forgotten. But Allah sees every act of patience, every moment she chooses goodness, and every hardship she endures silently. People remember what benefits them. Allah remembers every detail of her journey. When others walk away from her value, Allah stays to honor it. Nothing done for His sake ever goes unseen. People walk away because their hearts are limited, but Allah's mercy is limitless. He stays when she is emotionally drained, spiritually exhausted, or physically overwhelmed. He stays when her smile fades and her tears fall. He stays when she doubts herself, questions her path, or struggles with her purpose. People love her in pieces. Allah loves her completely. People stay temporarily. Allah stays forever. A woman feels the presence of Allah most when the presence of people disappears. Silence becomes sacred. Loneliness becomes peaceful. Her dua becomes deeper. Her faith becomes stronger. And her soul becomes softer. She begins to rely on Allah in ways she never did before. The support she sought from people becomes a comfort she finds only in Him. What once felt like loss becomes transformation. When people leave, they take their opinions, judgments, and expectations with them, and that is when a woman finally breathes. She no longer carries the burden of pleasing others. She no longer shapes her worth around their validation. Allah stays to remind her that her value was never meant to be in the hands of people. He shows her that true dignity comes from Him, not from those who fail to appreciate her. Allah stays to show her that endings are not always losses. Sometimes they are beginnings. Beginnings of self-respect, of healing, of spiritual growth, beginnings of a heart that learns to depend on Allah more than anyone else. He stays to teach her that being alone with Him is far better than being surrounded by people who don't honor her soul. Solitude with Allah becomes strength, not sadness. And when she finally realizes that Allah is the one who stays, her heart becomes unshakable. She no longer fears losing people because she never loses Him. She no longer begs for attention because His closeness is enough. She no longer breaks from disappointment because His decree is perfect. The moment she understands that Allah remains when everyone else walks away, she discovers a strength that cannot be taken from her. A strength born from faith, from resilience, and from knowing she is never truly alone. Her loneliness becomes the place. Allah heals her heart. Loneliness feels heavy for a woman because she gives so much of herself, her love, her time, her understanding, hoping someone will stay, someone will care, someone will hold her the way she holds everyone. But when no one steps in, she feels forgotten. What she doesn't realize is that loneliness is not a punishment from Allah. It is an invitation to return to the one who never leaves, the one who knows her heart far more deeply than anyone ever will. Her healing begins the moment she stops seeing loneliness as abandonment and starts seeing it as Allah's private meeting with her soul. In loneliness, Allah teaches her the difference between being alone and being held. She may feel physically by herself, but spiritually she is surrounded by mercy, watched by angels, and loved by the one who created her. The world may turn its back, but Allah turns her loneliness into a doorway of nearness. She begins to feel a type of peace that doesn't come from people, a type of comfort that doesn't fade when someone leaves. Loneliness becomes softness when it is filled with His presence. Loneliness becomes the mirror where Allah shows her who she truly is. Away from the noise, expectations, and judgments of others, she begins to rediscover herself. She listens to her heart without interruption, reflects on her wounds without shame, and dreams without fear. Allah removes people from her path so she can finally hear her own voice, the voice she silenced for years while trying to please everyone except herself. Through loneliness, Allah separates her from what distracted her and brings her closer to what strengthens her. The heart that is constantly surrounded by others becomes numb, but the heart that faces solitude learns depth. It learns sincerity, humility, and dependence on Allah. Her loneliness becomes a purification, removing the attachments that hurt her, exposing the wounds that need healing, and guiding her toward the peace she ignored while busy holding others. In her loneliness, she finally cries in a way she never allowed herself to before. Not the silent tears she hides from the world, but the deep tears that she spills before Allah alone, and those tears become healing. The Prophet ﷺ said that no tear shed for Allah's sake goes unnoticed. Each one becomes a means of mercy. It is in those private moments of heartbreak that Allah lifts her, comforts her, and strengthens her in ways no human can. Loneliness becomes the place where Allah teaches her emotional independence. She realizes she doesn't need constant reassurance from people, nor validation from family, nor attention from friends to feel complete. Her heart stops depending on creation and starts depending on the Creator. She becomes whole within herself, because her wholeness no longer depends on who stays or who leaves. It depends on Allah, who never leaves. It is during loneliness that Allah reveals the truth about people. She begins to see who truly cared and who only stayed for convenience. She sees who valued her soul and who only valued her presence. This clarity is painful, but it is protection. Allah removes illusions, so she stops giving her heart to those who don't deserve it. The loneliness that breaks her expectations rebuilds her discernment. Loneliness becomes the moment Allah removes the noise of the world and teaches her the language of silence. Silence becomes soothing, not scary. She begins to enjoy the calm, the stillness, the space to breathe. In that silence, she finds answers. She learns that her heart does not need constant noise to feel alive. It needs Allah. Her connection to Him grows stronger when the world grows quiet. In loneliness, Allah teaches her sabr, not passive patience, but the kind that strengthens her from the inside. She learns how to hold herself, how to calm herself, and how to speak to her soul with hope rather than fear. This patience becomes a shield that protects her from emotional exhaustion. She realizes she can endure more than she thought, not because she is strong, but because Allah is strengthening her. Loneliness becomes the place where she learns tawakkul, true reliance. She stops asking people to fix her or understand her. She turns to Allah for guidance, provision, clarity, and healing. She makes dua with sincerity, not distraction. She leans on Him with trust, not desperation. And the more she relies on Allah, the less she fears being alone. Her reliance transforms solitude into sanctuary. Through loneliness, Allah nurtures her self-respect. She begins to see her worth without needing anyone to affirm it. She realizes she deserves kindness, honesty, loyalty, and gentleness, not because others say so, but because Allah honors her. She stops accepting mistreatment out of loneliness and starts choosing dignity out of faith. Loneliness becomes the foundation of her boundaries. It is in loneliness that Allah teaches her to appreciate herself. She begins to enjoy her own company, her own thoughts, her own dreams. She realizes she has ignored her needs for too long while serving others. Allah slows her life down so she can finally reconnect with her own heart. Self-love becomes not arrogance but gratitude. Gratitude for the soul Allah created within her. Loneliness becomes the place where she heals from past wounds she never addressed. She finally faces the pain she buried beneath busyness. Old traumas rise, not to weaken her but to be released. Allah does not reopen wounds to hurt her, He reopens them to cleanse her. What she thought was punishment becomes deep, gentle healing that she needed decades ago. When she is alone, she finally learns the sweetness of dua. She speaks to Allah with words she could never share with people. She whispers fears, hopes, secrets and insecurities. And Allah responds not always with what she asks, but always with what she needs. Her dua becomes her strength, her loneliness becomes her prayer mat, her healing becomes her ibadah. Allah uses loneliness to detach her from harmful attachments. He removes the people who drained her, the places that triggered her, and the habits that limited her. Each removal hurts, but each one frees her. She begins to see that Allah is not taking things away to break her. He is clearing space to rebuild her on firmer, healthier ground. It is in loneliness that Allah places new wisdom in her heart. She becomes more reflective, more compassionate, more aware. She understands life differently. She forgives more easily. She judges less harshly. She learns humility and emotional maturity. Loneliness becomes a classroom where Allah teaches her what comfort never could. Through loneliness, Allah strengthens her identity. She stops defining herself by who loves her, who supports her, or who chooses her. She defines herself by her relationship with Allah. She walks with quiet confidence because she knows Allah sees her truth even when the world misunderstands her. Her identity becomes anchored in worship, not in worldly validation. Loneliness becomes her spiritual turning point. It is often during solitude that women experience their deepest transformation, reading more Quran, praying with more presence, crying in sujood with sincerity, reconnecting with modesty, or seeking knowledge. Allah uses solitude to bring her closer to her true self, the self that thrives